to my channel. My name is Karina and I'm an SLPA who makes videos for other SLPAs on here on YouTube, and I'm also a mom to a 16-month-old now. So from time to time I do share my speech content for my mommies out there as well. Now today's video is going to talk about what I wish people knew as my job as an SLPA. I wish people knew a little bit more generally about SLP assistants, but that's okay. This is kind of focusing on the school setting and what I typically have to be telling other people. It gets very repetitive, and this is in no way to bash anybody who doesn't know anything about SLPAs. I don't expect you to automatically know, right? But this is kind of more knowledge for teachers who work with SLPAs or staff, staff members at a school that may encounter SLPAs and work with them. Or if you heard about an SLP, don't know what an SLPA is, this is just information that I wish other people knew about my job as an SLPA, of course. So my very first thing is that I wish people knew I'm not a teacher. This is in no way to say I have to do a bunch of teacher duties. I don't want to be seen as a teacher. That's not what this means. This is more so when people directly have to ask me, hey, can you work on this task when you pull them out? Like, I'm not a teacher's assistant. Does that make sense? I don't pull out kids for 30 minutes at a time to work on stuff strictly for the curriculum they're learning in the classroom. There are times that I do collaborate with kinder teachers, first grade, second, third, any level teacher. I collaborate with teachers from time to time to see what they're working on in the classroom, and then I try to incorporate that into speech therapy because it's ultimately going to help the child, right? But from time to time, I have had over the years people ask me, can you help them spell? Can you help them read? Can you help them? They're having trouble with reading paragraphs or multi-syllable words. And while I do that from time to time to be helpful, I'm still at the school level, that's not what the goal is in speech therapy. The goal for kids in speech therapy is to have this confidence, like to hold a conversation with your peers, to have the confidence to communicate your wants and your needs at home, to have the confidence to read out loud. For example, if there's a kid who is in speech for fluency, they stutter pretty often. A lot of times I see kids who don't want to be reading in class, or they completely don't want to read because they stutter very often. So to me, it's all about building that confidence for them to be able to hold a conversation with peers, their parents at home, their teachers, to communicate things. I'm trying to make their life easier in their life, right? Not just at school. So I do wish people knew that a little bit more about SLPAs. The second thing I wish people knew is that I do not evaluate. Now this is a big one because I'm not gonna strictly tell everybody, this is what I do not do. It's kind of, it's something that comes within time. That's kind of something that I don't like having to do, but it's the truth. And it's something that I wish people knew more of, because people see me more on campus, more consistently, not just to test, right? I'm pulling them out and I'm interacting more with the teachers. And if they're seeing my face, it's pretty common to get asked a lot of the questions like, hey, they're not picking this up, how come? And then that's the part where I have to explain, I'm only the assistant. I only know blank, blank, blank. I can definitely ask my supervising SLP, but I don't evaluate, meaning I do not know the history of this child. I normally don't know too much about this child other than the goals and their current progress. If you need to know like what they scored on a specific test, that's something that I cannot answer. If you need to know how they did in pragmatics, how they did in spelling, how they did in repeating sentences, I don't know these things. This is stuff that my SLP only knows, and then I have to redirect them. So it like I said, it kind of sucks having to do that, but it's something that I think teachers need to be aware of, teachers need to know, and just generally anyone, right? Because when I worked in early intervention, I got asked a lot of things as well, and I had to be like, I'm not sure, but I'll get back to you. I'm not sure, I'll ask my SLP. So again, it's that like confidence sort of thing, but I have to be honest with what I know, because if I'm making it known like, hey, this is what I see, but I'm not a professional, it's likely, one, you're not supposed to do that, but it's likely that the parent is going to freak out, like if you're saying the wrong thing. So you never want to do that. As an SLPA, you definitely want to be aware of like your scope of practice, and you want to make that boundary known, like I don't know that. I don't know the answer to that. Anyway, yes, I wish people knew that I do not evaluate. The third biggest thing I wish people knew is that I work on multiple goals. I do not only work on fluency. I do not only work on grammar. I do not only work on sounds and articulation. I work on all of these things. I also work on pragmatics, social skills. So I do a lot of things, and typically in the school setting, I'm doing mixed groups. So I'm having to, yes, play games, but I'm targeting multiple goals in one board game, right? I think a lot of people get this idea that speech therapy is just playing games. Speech therapy is only board games. Speech therapy always has to be fun and stuff. And while I really try to make it that way for kids, and I can go on and on about that, I try to really build their confidence through play. It isn't always that. I might have some sentences up on the board for students to fix, and then we're gonna immediately at the very end play a card game real fast, or I'm gonna ask you questions about a book or about specific actions and stuff. Like, speech therapy is so much in one. It's combining all these things in one. And a lot of times it's not just because I have mixed groups. It's very often that me, for example, Karina has to work on her stuttering, her fluency, and then she also has some trouble with social skills. She can't make the correct eye contact or something, you know, like it's very frequently a lot of goals packed into one 30-minute session. And I just wish more people were aware of that. I wish a lot more people understood, hey, Karina doesn't only have problems with her R sound. You know, you don't know this, but she also needs help in her pragmatics and social skills. She needs to understand that this is not appropriate versus this is appropriate. So it's kind of all in one. And while I might not know like this student's history, I know a lot about their current progress, right? So I just wish people knew that it has so much more to do than just the sounds, just playing. It's so much more than that. Lastly, I wish people knew that speech therapy, teaching a child to interact in a certain way, or to, you know, do this thing with your tongue a certain way to produce the R sound, or forming correct sentences, all of these things take time. In my school district, they are reevaluated. The students are reevaluated every 3 years. Now, I would like to think that's because of like science. You know, there's something that shows every 3 years you should see progress. I'm assuming that. I don't know the real reason. But if that's the case, I think that's very accurate, right? There's a reason why they're not testing kids every single year who are in speech therapy, because it takes time. So I only say this because I have had, you know, from both sides, teachers, parents, evaluators, who are kind of questioning like, why don't I see much progress? Or why have they been in speech therapy for a year and a half and very little has been fixed? It takes time, right? Imagine you're a little kid and you're being forced to make your L sound a certain way when you're so used to doing this L sound a different way with your tongue or with your mouth. Your articulators are used to doing things out of habit, right? So it takes a long time. And then I only see these kids about 2 times a week. So it might be a little bit slower, right? I do encourage parents to do a lot of work at home if they can. I give kids some speech, like sort of homework every now and then, but it takes time. And I wish more people knew that, so that they wouldn't have to immediately judge or immediately think like, she's not really doing her job, or this kid isn't very helpful in speech therapy. I just wish people knew more about it taking time. That ties up the things that I wish people knew about speech therapy. Now, this is kind of aimed just for SLPAs, because sure, SLPs may do this, but I'm kind of making this video because I know when I first started out as an SLPA, I felt very misunderstood. When I started out in early intervention, I had to come into contact with parents who would kind of ask me things outside of my scope of practice or outside of like the knowledge I had at that time. And I still encounter that problem in the school setting. I feel like because teachers may see my face a little bit more often than they see the SLP, you know, the SLP is packed with meetings and evaluations and stuff. I feel like people have this confidence in me that they can just ask me anything. And while I very much appreciate that, I love to be that professional, that person that you feel like you can turn to. I 100% love that. I like feeling that. However, I don't have all the answers right away. And these are just things that I wish people knew a little bit more about speech language pathology assistants. And yeah, I do hope you found this video helpful, and if you did, please make sure to give my video a like and subscribe to my channel as well. It'll mean so much to me, and I'll catch you in my next video. Bye.